Welcome, everyone, to my channel, Beth Bell Live. Each week, I love having you here. We go deep into the heart of the matter and oftentimes unraveling the mind, unraveling the stories that we tell ourselves and others, and ultimately get to the things that really break our heart. It may be heartbreak or heartache. And it happens with a lot of different people in our lives. It can be, of course, those romantic lovers. It can be our spouses. It can be family. It can be friends. It can be colleagues. So if there's anything on your heart or in your mind that you want to unravel and release, I would love to hear what your questions are today. We actually have a really strong lineup of questions that came in, very much related to awakening. And so our goal here is to awaken inner wisdom, because when we really tune into our own compass and our true north, we're able to get that wisdom from our higher self as opposed to run around with the storylines of the mind. So let's stay really anchored in asking spirit, source, our higher self to come through and to bring through some insights that are really helpful for not only the people asking the questions, but for all the people watching. So if you're watching me live, thank you for being here with me. I always love having you. You can ask a question in the comments. You'll get priority over any pre-submitted questions. And if you're watching on replay, you can always put the questions in the comments and I will answer them in the following week. Or you can go over to bethbell.me/question, enter your question there. And it's a little bit more private, but I also really love having you put the questions in the comments here because it's so helpful for everyone else to be able to learn together from insights that, can be helpful for all of us. Okay, let's jump in. We've got a big list here. Question number 1. Why do I still feel unworthy of rest, even after years of inner work, therapy, and spiritual practices? What am I really afraid will happen if I just stop pushing? I think that's a great question. And it's one that a lot of people suffer because it's a program. It's a program that got instilled at a very young age that we need to earn our value and worth. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't do anything. Of course not. We do need to take action. But when we come back to more inspired action, which is aligned with our purpose, we can start to see that we get energized from the things that we do, as opposed to continually doing things that take away our energy and really drain us. And it feels like for you, that's really what's happening here, is that you have this glitch, this program that thinks that resting is not a good thing. And it's simply because someone in your external world has told you this. There's a really wild story coming to mind because it's from so long ago. But I remember way back in my corporate life, I was in the corporate offices outside of New York City. And one of my colleagues said that she just was going to take a break. She made a commitment to take a break and sit and look at a magazine for a few minutes just to kind of reground and to get out of the craziness. And I thought, wow, that sounds like such a great idea. And yet one time when I walked by, I was like, oh, well, how does she have time to do that? Or gosh, she looks really disengaged, So I started to witness myself even make judgments of her. Like, how could you just sit there? Like, there's so much going on. And then at one point, I remember the CEO walked by and that a similar feeling came through of like, what are you doing? And so I think there's also an element of discernment sometimes. I think what she was doing was perfectly fine, especially looking back now. But oftentimes that reflection from the external world is that you need to keep going, you need to work later, you need to show up earlier, you need to participate in everything so that people see that you're showing up. I'm not saying that you're specifically doing all these things, but this is pretty much the program, especially in a corporate environment where you are being judged by your external environment. And so it is so important to take the time for rest, whether it's sleeping in a little bit later or just going to bed a little bit earlier. I would also say that there's something that's coming forward. This may be very specific to you. I don't know. But oftentimes I think we think we're running out of time and it's just, or we haven't rested enough, but it's because partly we're prioritizing our time differently, meaning we're doom scrolling at the end of the day, or we're watching something on Netflix, or we're doing something that's mind numbing that makes us feel relaxed, but it's actually not helping us to rest. We think that it is, but it's not, because it is stimulating more storylines in our brain. It's stimulating more thoughts. It's stimulating a reaction to whatever storyline is playing. Sometimes that feels easier because they're not our storylines. I would just caution you that you want to really tune in to where is your downtime being spent. Because while, as I said, it feels like rest to sit on the sofa and watch a program or to doom scroll, it's not resting. It's not resting in a way that helps you to really tap in. It's not resting in a way that helps you to really be in the word management of your own energy comes to mind. And so you really want to think about, like, where do I need to use my own discernment? And whether it's at home or in the corporate office environment, how can I incorporate that, time to read a magazine, just to calm myself? But maybe it's not the magazine, right? Maybe it's listening to a high vibe meditation. Maybe it's closing your eyes and just doing that 3-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute pause. It doesn't have to be this long period of time. And when we pause, we recharge. And it's just an innate program that we have oftentimes in the collective that is, no, you got to keep doing. And that's not true. It's not the truth of pausing, and the power of pausing, and the power of coming back to center, and the power of just really the stillness of our minds, and doing it in practice. Even if you can do, there's a great app. It's not coming to me right now, but it's by Richard Rudd. And I also do this one. You can do it at 6 in the morning, 9, 12, 3, 6. And so you just pause, and there's a little button on there. You can do 3 minutes, you can do 10 minutes. And so the purpose of that is to start training your mind to pause, and start rewarding your mind for pausing and getting that center. So I think that alone will give you that rest that you're looking for. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to change something super dramatically. You're just reprioritizing your time, and you're reprioritizing quieting the mind in that time, not piling on more stories, and not doing something that feels familiar that you think is rest, but it's really not. All right. If you're on with me live or you're watching on replay, I'd love to always hear the comments. Okay, we'll go on to the next question. Okay, this looks like it's from a man who's 38. I've built a successful business as an entrepreneur, and I'm only 38. Yet I feel haunted by an emptiness. Although I have a wife and young child, it still feels like something is missing. How do I know if it's time to pivot, or if I'm just spiritually bypassing my dissatisfaction? Okay, I love that. I think that's a pretty deep question. And I think that the fact that you're asking the question also speaks volumes to that you're not necessarily spiritually bypassing, which means that you're saying, everything is love, everything is light, everything's perfect, everything's divine, and sort of bypassing something that's deeper within you. I think you are asking the questions, and I think that this is the perfect time. Only you in the end are going to know if it's time to pivot, but I'm going to just pull through what's coming for you specifically, that it does feel like there is a pivot, but not necessarily a massive pivot. I don't think that, what was your profession? You're an entrepreneur. You didn't tell me exactly, but I think that that emptiness is a feeling from your soul that says, hey, there's something more that you're here to do. And it doesn't mean that you have to leave the current role that you're in. So whatever line of business you are in as an entrepreneur, you may be able to leverage that and make a slight pivot, a slight tweak to how you show up every day, maybe what you do, maybe groups that you join that also have to do with your business, so that it doesn't feel like it's separate, but you're kind of filling your cup. You're doing something that is aligned more with your spirit and your soul's plan, and yet still very much in what you're doing right here, right now. Now, if you feel like that stirring is so big that you're like, I just want to abandon all of my entrepreneurial business that I've built? Like that's a different question, but I'm not necessarily feeling that from you. I feel like you are at such a great time where you can leverage all the success that you've had and the foundation that you've built, and that there's just new relationships you can have, not only with your current position, but the people that may sit on your board, the people that you may invite to your board, the people that you may be hiring. It might be that you are hiring someone new, sort of like a chief of staff comes to mind, where you're actually asking someone else to help you with some strategic guidance to do some of your to-dos, and that will give you a little bit more time and a little bit more relaxation into maybe a new role that you're taking on as an entrepreneur, because you've already built this successful foundation. You've already gotten married, you have a family. So it feels like, you have all the chess pieces on the board. And now it's just really thinking a little bit more about from the heart, not so much from the mind, but the mind comes in a beautiful way too. What is it that I want? What is it that I want more of? And I think you're going to find that emptiness starts to get filled up. I keep getting something about board members, something about people who support your business in perhaps a non-paid way, and possibly some charity. There may be some organizations that are great partners for you, for your business, that give you some press and give you some fulfillment and bring you new relationships and new people into your organization, no matter how big or small it is. That could be a voluntary basis or it could be a paid basis, that you're able to really get some additional support so that you can do some things that your soul is longing for and probably nudging you to do more of, but you're just not quite there listening to that deeper wisdom within yourself. It often happens. We're busy. There's so many things happening. You've got a family, you've got a lot happening on your plate. So it does feel like there's an opportunity potentially. And only because I don't know the financial status, but I feel that you could potentially hire someone that is a very high level strategic role. And it may be a consultant. So it doesn't have to be like a full-time person that you bring on. And I think you're going to find some of that emptiness will start to fill in. So hopefully that's helpful. I'm excited to hear more. So if you're back on the show or you're on with us live now, please let me know if that resonates for you. Okay, let's keep moving along. Every time I'm about to step into visibility, something sabotages it. I'm a healer and artist, and I'm used to putting my creativity out into the world. Is this just fear, or is there a deeper soul contract or karmic residue I haven't seen? I think that if you're already an artist and you're already a healer, and you've really stepped into what you feel are your true gifts and calling, I think that you're in a beautiful place, and there may be a little bit of dusting off. That, let's see, your wording was karmic residue. Yeah, I think that again, it's alignment. It's alignment with your soul's path, but it's alignment with other people in your life that support that soul's path. So oftentimes we need, not out of need, but out of desire, out of um, being in community, that we create a little bit of a micro tribe, and that we look to people within our community. It could be our close, intimate friends. It could be people that we go to certain events with, and really branching out and getting bolder and telling people what it is that you need help with. That you would like their support on, that you would like their a little bit of promo love. So it might be that, yeah, that you want to have more clients for your healing business, and that it's just sharing with more people that are in your inner circle and the ones that are on the periphery, that, hey, this is what I do, this is how I help, and really communicating to others what it is that you would love for them. Hey, it would be great if you would be willing to ... whatever that is. I know that even for myself, I recently reached out to a close group of friends that I'm on a WhatsApp with, and I said, "Hey, I would love your support going to Amazon and getting my book Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics. And if you're loving it and you feel inspired, I would love your review on Amazon, because a lot of people don't think to, even your closest friends, to do this. And so sometimes it's just that little ask that, hey, there's something that I'm moving forward with. There's an energetic push. There's something I'm manifesting, and will you help me? And so that's oftentimes the nudge that we need to feel the support, and to feel that we're not running alone on the planet, that we're being supported by the people that love us the most, and also asking for help where we need it and when. Hopefully that's helpful. And I think that it's also I'm getting a bit of a, it could be a previous life situation where you actually were a healer of some sort, or you were someone who was perhaps perceived as alternative. A lot of times we refer to more natural therapies as alternative, and I think that's so interesting because they are oftentimes natural. It's working with the natural energies of the universe, of nature, and oftentimes even just nature itself, whether it's a remedy or whatnot. And we look at it as alternative. And so it's created this narrative in the collective that it's different, that it's alternative, that it's, even the word woke has gotten so skewed from the original intention. And so most people don't even know the original intention of the word woke, and they immediately associate it with something that I think in this time and date and society appears to be negative, appears to be, I don't even know, conspiracy theory, or whatever the narrative is now. I'm not 100% sure, but it was referring to someone who had woken up, someone who was really breaking through the barriers and breaking through the constructs of how we view the world. So it's interesting how the collective in the movie The Matrix comes back to mind, where the agents are trying to stop Neo from waking up and knowing that he's the one, because each one of us are the one. Each one of us have that innate inner wisdom within us, and each one of us have the power to do, be, and have whatever it is that our soul desires. We just have to get lined up with it. And so, I feel like for you, there is this, oftentimes I refer to the starving artist kind of mentality, because it's like a construct out there. And the same thing is happening, I think, for a lot of healers. And it's creating an energy bubble, if you will, that you still have to break through, and you do have to dust off, and you do have to move through. But again, I think that comes when you get closer to community and communicating what it is that you need. All right. Hopefully that's helpful. I always look forward to your feedback and thoughts in the comments. So let's keep moving along. And if we have anyone on live, please don't hesitate to ask a question. All right. The next question is, I meditate, I journal, I've done plant medicine, but I still feel like I'm disconnected from my true purpose. I'm a tech founder and like what I do. I'll soon be 50, so maybe I'm just going through a midlife crisis. Or is there a block I am missing? I think that the words that are coming right now is integration. So if you've done plant medicines, you've done the journaling, the integration part is so important. And the second word that's just glaring right now is patience. It's a word that I also don't like so much myself, but it's such an important word, and it's an important word to embody the feeling of it. And that anchors you in. So if you're patient, it means that you are peaceful, you're calm. You're not following the mind and what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing, what's happening, what's not happening, that you're just really coming to that place of stillness within and knowing that everything is coming. Because when you become the magnet, you all know this, when you become the magnet, then things come to you effortlessly and with ease. And it's only the mind that gets in the way of warding off some of these things that are coming to us. So I think going back to really to that patience and the integration, and allowing the integration to happen, because oftentimes it takes a while for things to unfold. We go to a medicine ceremony, let's say, and you have a lot of insights that come to you because you've unraveled your mind in the ceremony. You've allowed yourself to not be stuck in the thoughts and the constructs of who you think you are and what you're here to do. And you get in touch oftentimes with like that really innate part of yourself, that powerful part of yourself. And then once you come out of the ceremony, the mind starts closing in again and it starts getting tighter, and the programs start to, they want to come back in place because they're comfortable, because it's how you know to navigate the world. And we're always asked to sit with the lessons and the learning of the medicines, whatever it is, even if you're going to a song circle, even if you're going to a crystal bowl healing, it doesn't always have to be plant-based medicines. But when you're part of these, oftentimes we get up and we're like, oh, that was a nice experience, and we move on from it. And I think what's being asked is for you to have the patience to sit still and to feel the integration of the lesson that was coming through, to feel the oneness, the stillness, the calmness, the knowingness that everything is perfect and divine just as it is, and arriving just on time. And that is a tough one for all of us when we are so deeply ingrained and have been rewarded most of our life for doing well and succeeding through the act of doing. Again, I'm not saying that we don't do, we do, but we do it with a lot more discernment and a lot more energy about what it is that we're magnetizing, as opposed to just putting the energy out to get something done because we think that it checks something off a list, which is still important. But the energy of which we do it in and the thoughts that we're having as we do it is what is the most important, that we shift back to that patience, that knowing, that asking for things to align in divine timing. So I know that can be a real tough one, and it's one that I often struggle with myself. But it is about recentering and really knowing that everything is happening for you, and noticing when things aren't aligning, that you just tap in and say, what is it that I need to know? And leaving it somewhat open-ended so that spirit can speak to you and your higher self can come in and give you those insights. So keep journaling. I think it's great that you're doing your meditation. You might also want to consider switching your meditation up a little bit. If you have, I don't know, if you're listening to someone in particular, maybe you can still listen to that person, or particular app, and then add another one. Maybe it'll give you just a little bit extra time, but it'll also give you a little bit different, because our mind just gets used to things. Our mind just kind of comes back around. Oh, that's so-and-so's voice, or, oh, that's that music, or, and then it has a tendency to come back online because it sort of sorts where that meditation is in the mind's eye. And so let's get back into the soul's eye and maybe do a little trick and just take it up a notch. Maybe it's a little bit more time that we spend. Maybe it's more often that we spend in meditation to do that remembrance of what it's like to take the pause, which is something I talked about earlier in one of the questions. Yeah, it feels like your meditation is great. And it feels also like you're journaling. Depending upon how you're doing it, I often like to refer to it as remote writing, where there's, some ways that I think people sit and they write and they retell themselves a story, which may not be what you're doing specifically, but what I like for people to feel into is asking a question, like just open-endedly asking a question, and writing in an actual journal with a pen and paper is really, really wonderful, and see what comes back. I know, as I've done this through the years, that when I ask the question and I just let my mind go and I just channel in for myself, accessing that inner wisdom, because I've awakened that within myself, then I get answers that I'm like, who wrote this the next day? I'm like, I don't remember really writing this in the sense of like, it didn't come from my mind. It came from a higher source. It came from a place of stillness. It came from a place of guidance. And it's always, I think, one of the things that you can always gauge to see, like, is this my mind still online writing this, or is it my soul? Is when you hear the cheerleader in the voice. When you start to hear the critic, for sure you're still in the mind. So you want to stay in that energy of hearing the cheerleader and the one that's cheering you on, the one that's giving you profound wisdom, the one that's telling you things that you know are true, but you may just not have embodied them yet. So stick with that. That's your compass, your true north to know, is this my mind or is this my soul actually speaking? And it takes a little practice. And oftentimes it does happen when we suffer something that's heartbreaking and it puts us on our knees and we're willing to look at another way. We're okay, let me see here. What do I need to really get into? And so if we don't take the pause, usually our soul's plan will put a pause in there, and they're not always such great pauses because they're usually pretty painful. We don't need to do this to avoid pain. We want to make sure that we're getting into any pain bodies that currently exist and releasing them. Okay, I know I've digressed slightly there on that, but I think it all felt really significant for this particular question for some reason. So, okay, let's keep moving along. Got a couple more here. Okay. I'm a corporate coach, and I know I'm meant to be a guide for others, but I keep attracting clients who drain me. How do I align with the ones who truly resonate with my soul's work? It feels like, as I was reading that you have attracted these people. Well, we always attract things in the external world that are reflecting something happening in our internal state. So it feels like there's a thread, a theme, something to perhaps look at with these clients that are draining you. And just don't get too heady into this. But what is it? Is there something that you go, oh yeah, that's a thread. That's the part that's draining me. Oh, okay, well, they're not quite there yet. Find the thread, because I have a feeling that there are some messages in those threads. And oftentimes I like to refer to it as an invisible stitch, because it's like something we can't see, but it's like something that is stitching ideas or concepts or feelings or emotions in a way that we're not able to release them. And so it's like this invisible stitch that is keeping us in a space, a place that we're like, yeah, that's not where I want to be. That's not what I'm feeling like I resonate with. But we have to still get in there and be able to pull that invisible stitch so that we can release whatever energy is. So I think the theme that you might find, again, don't be hard on yourself with it, but just note, it is X, Y, or Z with these people, and then go, where within me is that still there? Where within me do I need to release those feelings? And I think what you're going to find is that other clients will start coming to you once you've done this process. And I don't think this has to be a long process for you. I feel like it is not deeply ingrained. I think it's just something that has been coming up for a long time. You know how to do this. You coach others on probably something very similar. So now it's just really getting in there and finding that one that's your own and releasing it. The other thing I think that's going to be important for you is to continue, if you're not already, doing visualization of what those clients look like that you do want, that you feel won't drain you. And really visualizing and feeling into what those conversations would feel like. I think that's really important. And the other thing that's coming is, feeling into that, but also, there's something about like where you're meeting people that's coming as well. Like, something out there, the way that you might be presenting yourself, there's like a nuance, that, for example, I love helping people through heartbreak, but that doesn't mean that I am only attracting people who have a broken heart. For me, I like to attract people who have not only a heart that's broken or maybe a heartache, but that they're wanting and willing to do the deeper work. Because there's a lot of people out there that just want to sit and wallow in their heartbreak, and they have no feeling of wanting to actually work through it. They just want to be the victim. They just want to have people feel sorry for them. I'm not saying I won't work with those people. I'm saying that I want the people who aren't stuck, in the victim mentality or are willing to allow me to help them get out of the victim mentality. So it comes back to like their will, like where are they in their will to want to heal? Because if someone doesn't want to heal, there's not much you can do for them. That is always, a healing back to wholeness. Everyone is already healed and whole. Let's remember that we're simply here to remember who we really are. And that is how we are already innately perfect and whole. It's just the storylines of the mind. It's the experiences that we've had that create a sense of believing that we're someone less than the most beautiful, powerful person that we can possibly be in this lifetime. So oftentimes we do go through lifetimes just to get back to remembrance. And while not everybody out there is looking to be, Buddha, Krishna, Ra, or any of the Dalai Lama, the other leaders and way showers that are showing us the way to raise our vibration and to live in a human body and to be here at another level of expanded states of consciousness. Maybe not everyone wants to achieve that in this lifetime, but we're all on the same trajectory over many lifetimes to be able to disassemble and release and let go and unravel and decode our own lives so that we can go from suffering to bliss and be in that, I like to say, blissfully neutral state, meaning that I think sometimes we get caught up in wanting the highs and the highs and the highs, and then the lows get really, really low. And the whole point is to use that spiritual toolbox that you're developing so that when the highs come, you come back to a blissfully neutral state. When the lows come, you can come back up to a blissfully neutral state. So there's a way that we can come back to our innate state of being that's in the now, that's being present, that's happy, that's whole, that's patient, that's kind, and that's not part of all the stories that are out there in our own psyche and in the collective consciousness. All right. So again, I think that let me make sure that I've answered that particular question. How do I align with the ones who truly resonate with my soul's work? Yeah, I think when you get that stitch, that's going to be a big thing for you. Visualizing the clients that you do want and really feeling into who's ready to heal and asking for those people, because otherwise there's people who want to stay in the loops, and those are probably not your people. And that feels like the people that you may be attracting, because that's draining when they're expecting you to do their work. It doesn't work like that. A lot of therapists, traditional, I know you're not a traditional therapist, but they get stuck in the loops of the stories. And that's not what you're here to do. You're not here to keep people looping. You're here to unravel the loop and to get to the core of what it is that they are looking to heal or desiring to heal within themselves, to experience that wholeness and that blissful state. Okay, let's keep moving along. We've got a few more here and we're coming down to the end of the hour. Okay. How do I distinguish between intuitive guidance and subconscious avoidance when I feel resistance to showing up? Wow. Okay. That one's a tough one. How do I distinguish between intuitive guidance and subconscious avoidance when I feel resistance to showing up? I think there's almost like three real concepts there. We talked earlier about the intuitive guidance and subconscious avoidance in a little bit different way. That subconscious avoidance, I feel like that's a little bit more of just a block, something that you're not able to see. And I think what I would suggest is that you stay very focused on intuitive guidance, because that intuitive guidance will guide you through whatever it is that the block is. And in some cases, not always, but in some cases, we can get through the blocks not even necessarily fully identifying what they are, because we've switched the program. We've changed the program to be of higher vibration, in a different nuance and a different essence. And then we are expressing ourselves in a soulful way that's more aligned with who we truly are and what we're here to do, as opposed to associating back with some of the stories, some of the trauma that is embedded in the subconscious mind. But releasing that through the intuitive guidance and practicing the intuitive guidance. I know there's so many different ways that you can do this, and it really depends upon where you're at in your awakening journey. I'll share a few things that are coming that helped me a lot. Over 20, I don't even know, 20 plus years ago, when I first really started to step into my awakening and my soul was quickening, I started to understand the concept of angels. I grew up Christian. I don't affiliate quite in the same way with religion that I did then in today's world, because I'm about awakening and about oneness and about connecting to source. And I think religion has its place, but it also has a very slanted view through certain scriptures. And so that's a whole nother topic that I'll get to on another day on another question. But it's coming back to that intuitive guidance. And so what was happening for me is I got introduced to angel cards. And again, this was many, many years ago. And I just started pulling a card every day. I just said, I was going through a difficult divorce. I was working a big corporate job. I had so much happening. And yet I just felt like, I just need to come back to center. And meditation was not something I could do at that time. And so I had these cards, and I would pull a card from the angels, and I would get great insight. And it always made me feel better. It made me feel a little bit more guided. It made me feel a little bit more in tune. And so sometimes it can be something just like that's coming from your external reality, but also feels like something you can resonate with. Because here's the most important part of the cards and from what's coming through is that it's not about the card, actually. It's about your reaction to it. Meaning that when you read something, does this word resonate? Oh, maybe this word doesn't resonate. That you're feeling into, the feeling tones of what the words are on the card. It's not like, everything has to be like what's in the card. I mean, I know that there's a lot of skeptics out there. Like, what do you mean? You're looking at a card and you're thinking that that's giving you guidance. I get that. It's your reaction to it. It's your feeling tone of the words, like, does that word resonate for me? Okay, thank you. I feel guided. I know I'm not alone in the universe. And then you can start going to more different modalities that help you with that guidance. I mean, for me now, many, many years later, I can sit and I can journal and I can tune in immediately to my higher self and pull through. Pulls doesn't feel like the right word, but just like channel through, which is what I do here on the show, insights that come from a higher state of consciousness that just go beyond the stories, that go beyond the collective consciousness, that go beyond the ideas of the constraints and the belief system, so that we can expand our awareness, expand our mindfulness, and expand how we look at life's situations. So again, I'm going to keep going back to, for you specifically, stay on that intuitive guidance road. Yes, you can go to the subconscious programs, and there's going to be times when you're going to be called to do that. But I feel like it's just going to help you to move through this more in the intuitive guidance part of it. And the resistance to showing up, I'm not sure in what way you feel like you're not showing up. And so there's probably some things that would help to clarify that, to make it very specific to you. But I think what comes in general for showing up is that your fire in your belly isn't lit. It's not. There's just something that is waiting, a linchpin that's either waiting to be pulled or a puzzle piece that's waiting to go in. And so what comes on that is curiosity, to have more childlike curiosity. We grow up, we have all this curiosity as a kid, we ask all these questions, and then somewhere along the line, we keep getting sort of put down for our curiosity because we're supposed to know it all. We're supposed to already know the answer, or if we don't have an answer, you better make one up. And oftentimes that curiosity is where the beauty lies, because then new possibilities come through with curiosity, because we don't have the answer. I know my mind oftentimes gets so strong, and I think I know the answer. I've got the answer. I want to know the answer. And then I just sit and I go, well, maybe I don't know the answer. And maybe I don't know the answer for this particular situation, let's just be curious. Let's be curious of what's coming through. Let's be curious of maybe how this outcome could be different. Maybe I have a lot of experience in whatever that area is, and maybe I should have a scenario that pops to mind, and that's okay too, but not sticking to that as the only possibility. And that's again where the power of curiosity comes in, and just gives us a little bit more freedom to really be in the magic of what's coming, as opposed to the structure and the lack of freedom that oftentimes gets sort of like placed upon us, to not step out, to not be different, to not do something unique. And when we feel that energy, that's oftentimes the time that we're actually asked to really step into it, and to be uncomfortable, and to show up perhaps when we feel like we don't want to, even if that means like, I don't feel like going to this event, but there's something in you that attracted the event to come across your screen. There's something in you that considered going to the event. And so, yeah, sometimes tuning in and saying, I'm going to go to this event, even though I'm not sure, even though I'm tired, even though whatever the excuses are. And that you actually stepping into showing up in a way that maybe you haven't before. You always have the freedom to leave. You can go, and if it doesn't resonate once you get there, you can leave, but at least you've shown up and you've pushed yourself to show up. Because we also get in these little mind loops, like the word depression comes to mind, and I'm not suggesting that you specifically are depressed. I'm suggesting that we have moments of depression, moments of suppression, where we're not feeling the joy, and we're not feeling this energy that helps us move mountains. And so we can shift our state. If you're going to use this example of maybe going to an event, but you're just not 100% feeling it, find a song that you love, find a song that has, a real energy to it, and jump around to the song. I don't care if you do jumping jacks or you're just, shaking your hands and doing something fun, but do something that moves the energy through you, because that will help release anything that is in that subconscious mind, and that will just shift the energy in that state to get you to go and do something different. And it doesn't involve having to have the mind online and figuring it out and going deep within the archives of the subconscious. It's like, no, we're just going to stay curious. We're just going to have fun. We're just going to shake it out. We're going to shake it up, and we're going to show up, even when sometimes we don't feel like we can. And you'll know when you need to use your discernment to say, no, it's actually not a time to push myself, because if I push myself, it's going to be over the edge or whatever. So you'll know if the little techniques don't work of shifting your energy and shaking it out, and you're still feeling like, can't do it, then don't do it. But you might also be able to call a friend and say, hey, can you go with me? And that might also shift your state, because sometimes we show up differently for others than we do for ourselves. All right. Hopefully that's helpful too. We are down to the end of the hour. I feel like there was one more question that I might have accidentally skipped, but if I have, I apologize. I will put it in for next week. Each week I am so excited when you join me at 11 a.m. Pacific time on Awaken Inner Wisdom. We're here to help break through heartbreak and heartache and anything that you want to unravel in your mind, the storylines that keep our hearts heavy, and opening it up to a place that we can live in a blissfully neutral state. And there are more resources on bethbell.me if you're interested in going deeper on any of your storylines and unraveling and decoding what's happening for you. I'm happy to work with you. You can go to bethbell.me. There's lots of resources, including the Awakening and Healing Handbook. There's the Psychedelics Resource Guide, and of course the Herpes Handbook. And if you haven't already read my book, best-selling book, Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics. It's a fun read, lots of tips, tools, techniques that are also in there as well. So if you have questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments, or you can go to bethbell.me/question, and I'd be happy to provide insights for you every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Until then, wishing you much bliss and love on the journey. Namaste.